They say love blinds you, but I didn't know it could blind me this much. I thought he was my forever, my safe place. Instead, he became the storm that shattered everything I believed in. I used to think my life was a fairy tale. At 22, I was young, ambitious, and hopelessly in love. He was older, 27, confident, and charming in a way that made every girl turn her head. But he chose me, or at least that's what I believed. We had been together for almost 2 years, and during that time, I built my entire world around him. He was the kind of man who knew how to talk his way into your heart. His words were soft, his eyes persuasive, and his smile deadly. I didn't just love him, I trusted him blindly. Our friends used to call us the perfect couple. On birthdays, he surprised me with little notes and flowers. On lazy Sundays, we'd binge-watch movies on my couch, tangled in each other's arms. And every time he looked at me, I thought I saw forever in his eyes. But forever has a way of turning into for a while. I started noticing small changes first, the kind you brush off when you're too in love to question. His phone, once left casually on the table, was now glued to his hand. He started coming home late, always with the same excuse: work. He smelled different sometimes, like cologne I didn't recognize. And when I asked him, even gently, his response was sharp. "Why don't you trust me? Do you really think I'd hurt you?" His voice would rise, anger flashing in his eyes, and I would immediately shrink, apologizing for doubting him. He was a master at flipping the blame. Somehow, every time I confronted him, I ended up feeling guilty. I convinced myself that I was overthinking, that maybe I was insecure. Because love does that. It makes you doubt yourself before you doubt the person you love. One night, I remember waiting for him until almost midnight. He had promised to come over after work, and I had cooked his favorite pasta. Hours passed, the food went cold, and I sat staring at my phone, wondering why he wasn't answering. When he finally called, his voice was calm. "Sorry, babe, I'm exhausted. I'll see you tomorrow." I told myself it was fine, that he was busy, that he was tired, that it was normal. But deep down, my heart whispered otherwise. The turning point came when we attended a friend's engagement party. He stood next to me, smiling, holding my waist, whispering sweet things into my ear. But then, across the room, I caught him staring at his phone, smiling at a message. It wasn't the smile he gave me. It was different, secretive, intimate. That was the first time I felt the sting of betrayal. Still, I stayed quiet. I loved him too much to face the truth. I thought if I just loved harder, he'd come back to me. But instead, the distance grew wider. I began noticing how he avoided introducing me to certain people. How he suddenly had business trips that lasted longer than they should. My friends whispered their doubts, but I defended him fiercely. I couldn't bear the thought of them being right. But the truth doesn't stay hidden forever. One evening, while he was in the shower at my apartment, his phone buzzed on the table. I hesitated, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. I wasn't the type to snoop, but something in me snapped. My hands shook as I unlocked it. He had never changed the password. And there it was. Message after message from another woman. Sweet words, late-night confessions, pictures, even bank transfers. He wasn't just cheating, he was using her. Manipulating her for money while keeping me for love. My knees buckled, and I had to grip the table to stay upright. My vision blurred with tears, my chest tightening as if the walls were closing in. Everything inside me shattered in that single moment. I wanted to scream, to cry, to burst into the bathroom and throw the phone at his face. But I froze. My body wouldn't move, my throat wouldn't open. The man I loved, the man I defended, the man I believed in, he was nothing but a liar. When he came out of the shower, towel draped around his shoulders, humming as if the world was perfect, I felt something inside me shift. For the first time, I didn't see the man I loved. I saw the villain. And as he kissed my cheek, oblivious to what I had just discovered, a new thought burned in my mind. If he thought he could play me, he was about to learn the hardest lesson of his life. The moment I discovered his betrayal, my world split into two. One side screamed in agony, asking how he could do this to me after everything I gave him. The other side, quieter but stronger, whispered, "Don't let him see you break." I didn't confront him that night. Instead, I slipped his phone back onto the table before he noticed and forced myself to smile. It was the hardest performance of my life. His arms wrapped around me as he talked about nothing important, while my heart pounded like a war drum in my chest. Every laugh I faked, every word I spoke, felt like glass cutting through my throat. But inside, I was burning. That night, I lay awake beside him, watching him sleep peacefully as if he hadn't shattered me. His hand rested lazily on my waist, and I felt sick knowing those same hands touched someone else while he whispered the same lies he told me. My tears fell silently onto the pillow, each one a reminder of my stupidity. By morning, I wasn't just broken. I was angry. For days, I pretended nothing had changed. I needed time to process, to plan. I couldn't just walk away. I needed answers, proof, closure, or maybe just revenge. I wasn't sure yet. What I did know was this: he would regret underestimating me. My chance came sooner than expected. A week later, he left his phone unlocked in my living room while taking a call outside. My hands trembled as I picked it up again, but this time, I wasn't afraid. I scrolled through the messages with her. Her name was Sophia. The texts painted a picture of a woman who was deeply in love with him. She sent him money to help with bills, expensive gifts, even paid for his car repairs. And he responded with sweet lies, promising her a future he never intended to give. But what cut me deepest wasn't her. It was realizing he used the exact same words with me. The pet names, the promises, even the cheesy jokes. Nothing was real. My stomach churned with nausea as I read on. One message made my blood boil. "Don't worry, babe. She's just a friend, nothing serious. You're the only one I care about." That she was me. My fingers tightened around the phone until my knuckles turned white. In that moment, all my love for him died. The boy I once adored was gone, replaced by a stranger who had been playing me like a fool. When he returned, smiling as though nothing was wrong, I forced myself to act normal. But my mind screamed with every glance at him: liar, cheater, user. Over the next few days, I began piecing things together. He wasn't just two-timing, he was running a game. I noticed receipts in his car from restaurants he never took me to. Expensive cologne in his drawer I had never gifted him. And a shirt with a faint perfume smell that wasn't mine. It was a pattern, a cycle of manipulation. He wasn't in love with me. He wasn't in love with her. He was in love with the power, the money, the control. And that realization broke me. I cried in silence, not because I missed him, but because I missed the person I thought he was. I grieved for the love I believed in, the future I imagined, the fairy tale that was never real. Nights were the hardest. I'd curl up in bed, my chest aching, my eyes swollen from crying, wondering how I could have been so blind. But then something inside me shifted. One night, I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my own reflection. My eyes were red, my face pale, but behind the tears I saw fire. I wasn't weak. I wasn't stupid. I wasn't just some girl he could toss aside after using. He thought he had me trapped, dependent on his love. But he was wrong. That's when I made my decision. If he could play games, then so could I. Only difference: mine would be smarter. Mine would hurt. I started with subtle moves. I began acting more cheerful around him, more affectionate, as though I knew nothing. If he noticed the shift, he didn't show it. He was too confident, too arrogant, certain that I would never find out. But behind my smile, I was plotting. I created a secret folder on my phone where I saved screenshots of his messages with Sophia. Every transfer, every "I love you," every promise documented. I even recorded a call where he told her he'd leave me soon. Piece by piece, I built my case like a prosecutor preparing for trial. And then fate handed me a gift. One evening, while scrolling social media, I found Sophia's profile. Her photos were filled with soft smiles, expensive handbags, and captions about love. She looked happy, glowing, completely unaware she was being scammed. For a moment, I felt sorry for her. She was a victim, just like me. I hesitated, wondering if I should contact her. What if she didn't believe me? What if she thought I was lying? But then I remembered his words, his smirk, the way he made me feel small whenever I questioned him. No, she deserved to know. I drafted a message to her. "Hi, I think we need to talk. It's about him. I know this might sound crazy, but I have proof." My finger hovered over the send button, my heart racing. This could change everything. With one deep breath, I pressed send. And just like that, the game shifted. This time, the player wasn't him. It was me. When I hit send on that message, I half expected silence. Maybe she'd ignore me, maybe she'd block me. After all, what woman wants to hear that her man is a liar? But Sophia replied within minutes. "What do you mean? About what?" My hands trembled as I typed back. "He's been lying to us both. I'm not just his friend. I'm his girlfriend. And I have proof." There was a long pause. Those 3 little dots blinked, vanished, then blinked again. Finally, her response came. You're lying. He told me about you. He said you're obsessed with him, that you can't let him go. I felt the sting of his manipulation all over again. He had painted me as some desperate, clingy girl. My anger surged. But instead of lashing out, I stayed calm. That's what he expected me not to do. I sent screenshots, every sweet message he'd written her while sleeping in my bed. The call recording. Even a photo of him in my apartment just a day after he had told her he was away on a business trip. Sophia didn't reply right away. When she finally did, her words were shaky. Oh my God. I had no idea. I could almost feel her heartbreak through the screen. And strangely, I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt solidarity. We were both victims of the same cruel game. That night, Sophia called me. Her voice cracked with disbelief as she pieced everything together. The money she sent him, the nights he canceled on me to be with her, the excuses he fed us both. With every word, the picture became clearer. He wasn't a careless cheater. He was a predator. And predators don't deserve mercy. I want to destroy him, she whispered through the phone, her anger simmering beneath her tears. A strange calm settled over me. Then let's do it together. From that moment, Sophia and I became allies. Not friends, at least not yet, but partners bound by betrayal. We spent weeks gathering evidence. Screenshots, bank records, receipts, photos, messages. I built a timeline of his lies, comparing when he told me he was working late to when he was begging Sophia for money. Every detail mattered. But revenge isn't just about evidence. It's about execution. And I wanted the stage to be perfect. We decided the best time to strike was his upcoming birthday party. He had invited both of us, of course, under different pretenses. To me, he said, I can't wait for you to meet more of my family. To her, he said, come celebrate, but don't tell anyone you're mine yet. They wouldn't understand. The audacity made me sick. But it also made things easier. The plan was simple. We'd both show up. We'd both act like everything was fine. And then, in front of his closest friends and family, we'd reveal the truth. Not just with words, with evidence. In the days leading up, I perfected my mask. Around him, I was affectionate, playful, supportive. He didn't suspect a thing. If anything, he seemed smug, like he was proud of his little double life. Meanwhile, Sophia played her part too. She continued sending him small amounts of money, enough to keep him comfortable, enough to keep him blind. Every dollar she sent was a nail in the coffin we were building. On the night before his party, I barely slept. My heart raced with anticipation, fear, and something else, excitement. For weeks, I had been drowning in sadness. But now I felt powerful. He thought he was the player, but soon he would realize he was just a pawn. The morning of his birthday, he called me. Can't wait to see you tonight, babe. You're gonna look stunning, I just know it. I forced a smile into my voice. Of course. I've got a surprise for you. If only he knew. When I arrived at the venue, the air buzzed with music and laughter. His family greeted me warmly, his friends complimented my dress. And there he was, standing tall, grinning like the king of the world. He wrapped me in his arms, kissed my cheek, and whispered, You're the best thing that ever happened to me. For a moment, I almost laughed. Because little did he know, the best thing that ever happened to him was about to become the worst. Across the room, I saw her, Sophia. Dressed elegantly, her eyes burning with the same fury as mine. Our gazes met, and for a moment, it was like we were speaking without words. Tonight he falls. The music played, people danced, the drinks flowed. He basked in the attention, oblivious to the storm brewing right behind him. And when the time came to cut the cake, he called me to his side. This is my girl, he announced proudly, his arm tight around my waist. The love of my life. The irony nearly choked me. But I held my smile, because the real show was just about to begin. The moment he called me the love of his life, I felt the entire room freeze around me. My smile stayed perfectly in place, but inside, fire burned hotter than ever. His hand on my waist felt like chains I was about to break. The applause died down as he leaned in, cutting the cake, feeding me a piece like we were some perfect couple. Cameras flashed, people cheered, and in that instant, he believed his illusion was unshakable. But illusions crumble the loudest when truth enters the room. I glanced toward the door, just as Sophia stepped forward. She moved gracefully, every eye drawn to her, her presence demanding attention. For a second, I saw confusion flicker across his face. Then fear. Babe! Sophia's voice rang out, sweet but sharp, slicing through the noise. The chatter in the room quieted as she walked straight to us, her heels clicking like thunder on the floor. He stuttered, Sophia, what are you? But she didn't let him finish. With a calm smile, she slid her arm around his other side. Don't be shy, love. You invited me, didn't you? Gasps erupted. Whispers rippled through the crowd like waves crashing against a shore. His mother frowned. His best friend's jaw dropped. And me? I just stood there, sipping my drink, savoring every second of his unraveling. He tried to pull away, sweat forming on his forehead. She's just a friend. Oh! Sophia cut him off, pulling out her phone. She tapped, and within seconds, his voice filled the speakers. You're the only one I care about. She's just clingy. Don't worry, I'll leave her soon. The words echoed through the room, undeniable, damning. People gasped louder, some even covering their mouths. His aunt muttered, Oh my God. His best friend shook his head in disgust. His mother whispered, What have you done? But Sophia wasn't finished. She turned the screen toward the audience, showing proof of her bank transfers, messages filled with his fake promises, his sweet lies. Every detail exposed, every mask torn off. The color drained from his face. He opened his mouth, desperate to defend himself. But before he could, I stepped forward. Actually, I said, my voice steady, ringing with confidence I hadn't felt in months, there's more. The crowd shifted toward me. All eyes were on us now. I pulled out my own phone and connected it to the screen at the front of the hall. Within seconds, the slideshow began. Photos of him with me on the same nights he told Sophia he was away. Screenshots of his texts, sent to us both, promising identical dreams of a future he never intended. I ended with one photo. Him asleep in my bed, timestamped the very night he had told Sophia he was out of town. The silence was deafening. Then the murmurs started. Disgust. Anger. Betrayal. He looked between us, panic setting in. His carefully crafted life, his image as the charming boyfriend, the reliable son, the confident man, shattered in an instant. You both planned this, he hissed under his breath, his eyes darting between Sophia and me, fury replacing fear. I leaned in, my voice just loud enough for everyone to hear. No, you planned this. We just played smarter. The audience erupted with whispers again. He tried to grab my hand, tried to pull me close, but I stepped back. Sophia did too. For the first time, he was alone. His father's voice thundered from the back. You've humiliated this family. The weight of the room crushed him. His friends avoided his gaze. His relatives shook their heads. His image, his pride, his confidence, it was all gone. Sophia turned to the crowd, her voice calm but sharp. This man didn't just cheat. He used. He manipulated. He lied to everyone. And then the final blow. She pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was the necklace she had bought him just last week, an expensive piece he had told her he needed for work meetings. She dropped it into his cake with a sharp plop. Happy birthday, she spat. The room went silent again before the whispers rose higher. People began leaving, shaking their heads in disgust. His mother buried her face in her hands. His best friend muttered, You're done, man. You're done. And me? I looked him in the eye, the fire in my chest finally cooling to calm satisfaction. You thought you could play us both, I said, my voice steady. But the only one who got played was you. He reached for me, desperate, his face pale, his voice breaking. Please don't leave me. I can explain. But I didn't let him finish. I stepped back, my heels clicking on the floor as I turned away. Sophia followed, her head held high. Behind us, I heard him calling my name, his voice trembling, cracking. But I didn't look back. Not once. For the first time in months, I felt free. The party he thought would celebrate his life had turned into his downfall. And as I walked out those doors, my heart lighter than ever, I knew the best was yet to come. Because revenge wasn't just sweet. It was liberating. The night after the birthday party felt like the first breath after drowning. For weeks, months even, I had lived under the shadow of his manipulation. But now he was the one suffocating, choking on the lies he had spun so carelessly. My phone buzzed endlessly the next morning. Calls, messages, even voicemails. His desperate voice begged me to listen. Please, you're the only one I love. I made mistakes, but I can fix it. Don't give up on us. I didn't reply. Silence was my answer. By noon, Sophia and I met at a quiet cafe across town. The sunlight streamed in, illuminating her face. For the first time since meeting her, I saw relief in her eyes instead of heartbreak. She stirred her coffee, then looked at me. I should hate you, she admitted. But instead, I respect you. We both were victims. I nodded slowly. And he thought he was untouchable. Sophia smirked. Now everyone knows what he really is. She was right. Word had spread like wildfire. His friends turned their backs, his family couldn't look at him without shame, and the community whispered his name with disgust. The charming man who had once fooled everyone was now nothing more than a cautionary tale. But his downfall wasn't over yet. The next week, he showed up at my apartment. His once polished appearance was gone. Wrinkled shirt, unshaven face, eyes red from lack of sleep. He knocked on my door until my neighbors peeked out curiously. "Please," he begged, his voice cracking. "Don't do this to me. I love you." She meant nothing. I was stupid. I stepped outside, keeping my voice calm. "You didn't just cheat. You lied. You used. You destroyed trust. Do you even understand what that means?" He reached for me, but I stepped back. The air between us was sharp with finality. "I can change," he started. "No." I cut him off. My voice was steady, cold but resolute. "You don't get to destroy people and then beg for forgiveness when your games fall apart. Actions have consequences. And yours just found you." His face crumpled, anger flashing before desperation returned. "You'll regret this," he spat, but the words had no power anymore. He was a broken man, clinging to a past he could never restore. I closed the door. For good. In the weeks that followed, I flourished. My confidence returned, brighter than ever. I poured my energy into my career, my friendships, my passions. Sophia and I even stayed in touch, strange allies forged in the fire of betrayal. She told me once, over coffee, it wasn't just about revenge, was it? And I realized she was right. Revenge had been the spark, but liberation was the fire. Exposing him wasn't about humiliating him. It was about reclaiming my voice, my worth, my strength. The moral was simple yet powerful. Love without respect is poison, and blind trust in the wrong person is a slow death. I had learned painfully that betrayal isn't just about losing someone. It's about finding yourself in the ruins they leave behind. Months later, I heard he had left town. Word was, no one trusted him anymore. He couldn't find stable work, his reputation in shambles. Sophia told me he even tried to contact her again, but she laughed in his face. As for me, I didn't waste another thought on him. My life had grown brighter without his shadow. I traveled, I loved myself, and I opened my heart only to those who proved worthy of it. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't destruction. It's survival. It's thriving. It's looking back one day, smiling, and saying, "You didn't break me. You built me stronger." And that was my final victory.